welcome listeners. This is the first edition podcast of Ocean Currents, the official podcast of the Fisker Owners Association. My name is Bill Spohn, and I'm joined by my co-host, Andrew Bock. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good, Bill. How are you?
Good. This is pretty exciting. I'm actually getting a little bit overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
I do a couple podcasts, but this is like a new one. This is our baby. This is something launching. Andrew's got a real interesting backstory, which fits perfectly into this role in the podcast. And I'd like you to share that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent the majority of my professional career, 25 years or so, in the audio and media business, having worked for radio stations in markets like New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, and larger radio networks like Westwood One, and most recently have been with TuneIn Radio for the last decade or so. And a lot of what I was sort of evangelizing and working on while I was at TuneIn was what the new experience for automotive was going to be in terms of infotainment and media. I joined that organization back in 2013. And at that point, most media integrations, and I'll flash some stuff up on the screen so people can see what it looks like, we're really just very limited text being being displayed on aftermarket radios that you could buy at a Best Buy or a Circuit City. I'm dating myself. That would allow you to at least have some of the experience in an in-car type of fashion, and to see where we've come in the 10 years or so that I was working on that from 2014 all the way up to now has been pretty amazing. And it was exciting to work on not just Fisker, but integrations with Tesla and Rivian and VinFast and a bunch of the other electric vehicle cars that have come out in the last couple of years, but also legacy autos like Mercedes and Audi and all of those guys. So I'm a car guy as a personal sort of life interest, and being able to sort of bring these two worlds together for me was just really exciting, and loved being part of the journey of seeing the Fisker get out onto the road and seeing the work of TuneIn, where I'm no longer at, but TuneIn and others sort of in that position to be in parity with any other media offering. It's we've come a long way.
Yeah, my interest in Fisker. Well, my background's product engineering, working in instrumentation, and actually in the energy markets, heating, air conditioning, thermal performance of buildings, and sort of did my capstone project by building my own net zero energy house that's run by solar energy. So the whole idea of this kind of continuum of energy efficiency, electrification, led me to looking for an EV, our first EV, around the summer of 2020, and that's when I became aware of the Fisker Ocean and put a deposit in October 20th of 2020.
So the Fisker was your first EV?
Yeah,
I don't think I knew that.
Nope, that's true. Yeah,
interesting.
Have a Subaru Outback before that.
Yeah.
So then got a chance actually to meet Henrik Fisker, some of the family and some of the executives at the time when they had the stock market. They rang the opening bell,
sure,
which happened in, I want to say, November of 22, and it was late because of COVID and everything. That was a thrilling moment. All other commentary aside with the people.
I understand. I picked my car up directly from Henrik at the facilities in Manhattan Beach in September of 23. Flew down there and got the keys from him. He actually signed the back of my vehicle. We had a very nice conversation. He made some measure of fun of me for getting my Ocean One with the 20-inch wheels. But I explained to him that I live in a very rural part of the country and don't have very, don't have a lot of paved roads, things like that.
Yeah.
And so the 20s were going to make more sense for me. But he did have some fun at my expense there. We'll put some photos up, I think, both of our
we'll share some
shared
stuff.
experiences here. But I actually picked it up in Manhattan Beach and jumped right on the 5 and drove all the way back up here to the Bay Area. So I took it on the shakeout drive right away.
Nice.
And I am currently, as of this recording, sitting at just about 30,500 miles or so in a little over a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
So further on the podcast isn't about Andrew and Bill, although we love to talk about ourselves. At least I do. Just ask my wife. We want to convey some timely information, make sure people are pointed in the right direction. And there's a lot going on. Even want to make sure everyone who's listening knows there's the Fisker Owners Association website, and that's fiskeroa.com. And it's pretty well constructed, pretty much to the point where they cover service locations, resources for doing some of your own DIY maintenance, how to join the association and become a member. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then what the purpose of the association is. It's actually a nonprofit. It was founded very quickly around May to June 2024 by some early adopters who believe the potential of the product and want to preserve the legacy, and very passionate people, drivers who love their oceans and want to connect with others who feel the same way. And they want to ensure collective voices are heard, rights are protected, and the vehicles stay on the road for years to come. So the mission and values there, the challenges need to be addressed are all there. There's a lot of great resources out there. This podcast isn't going to read everything to you, but hopefully just remind you of what you may not be aware of or what you may have forgotten is out there.
Yeah. And of course, bring people on who were so instrumental in getting all of us to this point, and in making sure that we are collectively highlighting the work and the efforts of everyone here, and the dedication and the focus that has allowed us to continue to drive these cars and sort of salvage this situation and make the best out of it. It's something that I think is such a unique and interesting story in the automotive space, and one that I'm looking forward to exploring with you and with the people key to the Owners Association, and then hopefully down the road with people outside of the Owners Association, and have some discussions around what the outside perspective was and how it has changed. And there's going to be a lot to explore here as we continue along this journey together, and sort of develop Fisker and the Oceans into what we always hoped they would be.
And there is, you can join and follow the website. If I'm not mistaken, and I will be corrected, I'm sure, but you can also follow activities and discourse, but you need to become a member in order to get access, get full access to all the information, because there is a cost to a lot of factors. And speaking of cost, there actually, I joined as a member in last December 2024, and there is a financial report that's been released that was sent to all members. There's a really nice summary by Brian, describes the narrative of where things are spent, but also does provide those basic income statements and a balance sheet so everyone is aware of the money coming in and the money flowing out and what it's going towards. Not surprisingly, the largest expense continues to be legal fees. They accounted for $360K of spend in 2024, and then followed by IT expenses, $5,500, and insurance about $1,100. But it may seem like there's a lot in the bank, and he goes on to describe it, but there's going to be a lot coming out very quickly. I don't think that this is a situation where there's going to be large coffers of funding that's sitting around. I think most of what the Owners Association is raising
and utilizing is expressly for the costs, the actual real world costs that we're dealing with in order to keep this thing going.
And we will include some links and show notes, and there's other places you can get these links. But if you want to look at the membership options, right now, as of the data recording, which is January 14th, 2025, it's $250 for 3 months, and that includes a $100 initiation fee. Or if you want to go ahead and pay for a whole year, it's $100 initiation plus $600. They go on to describe it. These are like technically oriented, well-intentioned, big-hearted people trying to think of every possibility. So if there's a missing detail or fact, give them a break, send them a message. There's always a place to contact people. But they
and we hope to be able to clarify some of the stuff for everyone as well, right? So a big part of what we're looking to establish here for everyone is a regular cadence of updates with a little bit more context, which I think is important in my business, in my professional world. I'm very much on a mission of trying to explain and inform people about the sort of our information literacy and illiteracy problems right now. And so, context is a big part of that. And so for me, doing a show like this is going to be critical to ensuring that the context around any of what's happening is really spelled out and explored. So much of what this experience to date has been over text and over message boards and things like that. I am of the mindset that is the worst possible medium for us to be relying on as our sort of main form of communication, because of the ability for people to apply any type of inferences or anything like that, read into text in a way that is not intended. And so with this, my goal, and I'm sure yours as well, Bill, is to be as direct and straightforward as we can, have discussions, add context to what is happening here and all the decisions being made on behalf of all the owners association, of all the owners in the association.
And I'll correct myself immediately. The membership includes member access to the community forum, as well as discount on select parts, voting rights, and we'll talk about voting in a minute. And then pending successful finalization of contracts, cloud connectivity would also be included, access to the Fisker service portal when development is complete. Again, a lot of things are pending. Access to iOS and Android apps when the development is complete, and that may be in the very near future. The membership's non-transferable, non-refundable, all the small print. Dues may be subject to change, et cetera, et cetera. But pretty well thought out for a group of volunteers who came together well less than a year ago.
Not only well less than a year ago, but really without any plan to do this. So I think it's important to continue to recognize that not only is this a completely volunteer situation, but it is one that was born out of necessity, and as such is still a bit fluid while things are settled. So it's again, to me, it's sort of an exciting opportunity to be a part of. I have been driving EVs for since 2013. This is my fourth. So I felt very strongly about the future and the opportunity of the vehicle, and still do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And talking about more than just text and written, there's town hall meetings. There are town hall meetings at this point every 2 weeks. The next one is January 19th. I'm not sure if we're going to get this podcast out before then, but look for it every 2 weeks. And the link to the Twitch event, they're broadcast on Twitch, are found in the newsletter. And also in this newsletter, which came out just a few hours ago, they're working on improving the update for North America for the 2.2 process. And they're still prioritizing and working on rolling out 2.2 for Europe. keeping in mind this is an international car, an international group of owners and listeners. Another big segment of the newsletter, or important segment, is information on election. The board has approved a call for elections to take place in February. So if you want more information or want to nominate someone, there's a button to click in the newsletter, which will drive you to a site. It actually drives you to the community forum, which describes the positions on the board: president, chairperson of the board, secretary, and treasurer. The voting will take place February 10th through 25th, and then the elected officials will start their terms on March 15th, 2025.
And I think that's an important thing for us to call out here, because I know that they're initially in some of the messages and comments that I had read as the Owners Association was starting up, were people wondering about what the process was and the opportunity might be to be more involved, and how the decisions around leadership and board seats would be made. So I think for those folks who were in that, were sort of in that mindset, now's your opportunity to go in and take a look at what the information is around these elections, requirements, ask your questions, and make some suggestions for these roles.
Yes. The Owners Association is also sponsoring key fob programming. In Europe, you would want to contact your country coordinator. In North America, there's actually a volunteer form to help arrange for a meetup, volunteers to arrange meetups. And again, this is in the newsletter. A lot of great information, concisely presented, and some outlinks to learn more about these. And then they're working hard on the rollout of the FAST tool to shops in Europe. And there's some hurdles that still need to be cleared, but there are several shops available again in the newsletter. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 in Denmark, 1, 2 in Germany, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Norway, and 1, 2 in Sweden.
I'm personally very much looking forward to getting, I got my fob and my key cards in the order a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
They're just sitting here. Yeah. So I've gotten my my key and the 2 fobs. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to get those programmed and active. But I also happen to be on 2.2. So it's my overall experience at this particular stage is that's pretty solid.
Good. Yeah, I'm on 2.2 since September 29th. The only thing I have is the double beeps.
I have the double beeps as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned you got the fobs. Did you get them from Tsunami?
That was from Tsunami. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I noticed that they continue to add parts.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I saw recently was the various pieces of glass, which I know was a really big problem for folks, and was a big concern of mine for as much driving as I do, that I was going to end up breaking something and needing specifically glass, which I don't think the Safe Lights and those repair shops are having access to at the moment. So getting that is a really big win, I think, for Tsunami Automotive all around.
And the website's tsunamiautomotive.com, and that's TSUNAMI automotive.com. And it's founded in conjunction with the Owners Association. It's an independent corporation that's focused on wholesale purchase, sale, and distribution of Fisker parts. And it's last time I looked at it, it's really improved. It's really very bold, very vibrant. Go take a look at it. Available parts, shopping chargers, shopping for key fobs, and going for recall parts. So it's all really nice.
Yeah, and I get lots of questions. I think people in my life are very aware of how invested I was in this vehicle and in Fisker overall. I'm embarrassed to admit that that Fisker, the vehicle, sort of played a role in my wedding last summer, where Henrik and Gita had, because my car was not ready in time for the wedding, they had sent one of the executives up with a vehicle to sort of act as a a little bit of a chauffeur for us for the weekend. So I felt very strongly about the mission and the opportunity here, and was very excited to drive a car designed by Henrik. As someone who is again a lifelong car nerd, knowing that I'll never own a BMW Z8 or an Aston Martin, I think this was a nice benefit and a bonus to have that. And so, it's a long-winded way of my saying that it's been very central and something I've talked about in my life for the last couple of years. And people to this day are still asking lots of questions about what is going on, about the Owners Association, for those who aren't aware of it. And I've had several people recently come to me and ask whether or not now is a time to buy an Ocean. And so it's been very interesting to sort of watch the ebbs and flows of this and know that so much of the reason why we're even in a position in January of 2025 to have conversations about whether or not people should buy these cars is because of what the Owners Association, along with American Lease, were able to do here in the bankruptcy proceedings. But it's to me, it's exciting time to be doing this, to be launching this show with you, and to be sharing more about this journey and what the future holds for members of the Owners Association, people who are interested in joining, and people who are interested in these, what I think to be really wonderful cars.
Absolutely. Well, I think we want to make this sort of short and sweet, just give an intro to ourselves, talk about the assets and the resources that are available, and then get into a regular cadence of producing these podcasts to provide another way in which the Owners Association communicates with the membership and the non-members too. So it's a public podcast. So.
Yeah, I think, obviously our main audience and the goal here is to keep the Owners Association members as informed and connected as possible to the process and the progress that is being made. But at the same time, we hope that people who are Fisker curious, Ocean curious, so to speak, if they find their way over to us, we hope that you find what we're sharing valuable and that we're addressing everything that you might wonder about the process or the journey of being an Ocean owner. And
probably one of the best ways, if you have any questions, is to shoot an email to info@fiskeroa.com. And then it'll get directed to us, or if you have just a general question that comes up as you're thinking about things in this podcast. So I want to thank you for listening, for tuning in. Haha.
Yes. Yep. Yes. We look forward to keeping up with you guys. Again, I think we're still settling in on what the exact cadence is going to be. At a minimum, we're looking at every 2 weeks. This is not something that we feel needs to be done on a weekly basis. We'll give you guys back your time to be entertained with the Smartless and other fun podcasts, and then come in and check in with us every 2 weeks or maybe every month as we give you updates on what's going on with your vehicles.
10-4. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for listening.